Have you ever stopped to consider why people are angry at things they've never personally experienced? Why crowds form opinions about events they've never witnessed? Why nations rise in fear, not because of what actually happened, but because of what was broadcast? That is the power of the media. It does not simply report reality. It shapes it. It doesn't just show you facts. It tells you what to feel about those facts. And if you don't understand this power, you will be a slave to it without ever realizing it. The media has no equal in its ability to influence minds, mold culture, and direct behavior. Kings once ruled with armies. Today, rulers shape nations with headlines. Battles that used to be fought with swords are now fought with screens. Armies once captured territories. Now broadcasters capture imaginations. The greatest empires of this age are not governments or militaries, but networks that decide what is shown and what is silenced. Because what you see repeatedly, you eventually believe, and what you believe, you eventually live. Imagine a child born into a world where the only story they ever hear is one of fear, scarcity, and violence. They will grow up with anxiety in their bloodstream, even if their immediate environment is safe. Imagine another child fed daily images of opportunity, resilience, and creativity. That child grows up with hope, determination, and courage. Both children lived in the same world, but their realities were not determined by experience. They were determined by exposure. Exposure creates belief, and belief creates destiny. This is the hidden power of media. The word media comes from medium, the middle channel through which something is transferred. The media is the bridge between events and perception. It takes raw information and interprets it for you. But here is the danger. Interpretation is never neutral. The moment information passes through a filter, it carries the perspective of whoever controls the filter. That is why two news channels can report the same event with opposite conclusions. One can call it a victory, the other a tragedy. And the people who watch each will believe two different realities. This is why the media must never be underestimated. It decides what is important, not by what exists, but by what it chooses to highlight. Every day, countless things happen around the world, but you will only hear about the few chosen by gatekeepers. And once something is repeated enough, it becomes truth in the minds of the masses. That is why propaganda has always been a weapon of kings, dictators, and corporations. They don't need to win your reasoning, they just need to own your attention. Because once they have your attention, they can train your beliefs. Let's be honest. Most people are not thinkers. They are reactors. They do not pause to question what they are told. They consume information like fast food, swallowing headlines, digesting rumors, and forming conclusions without investigation. And the media knows this. That's why stories are designed not just to inform, but to trigger. Anger gets clicks. Fear keeps you watching. Outrage drives engagement. The goal is not truth. The goal is attention. And the result is a society constantly on edge, manipulated not by facts, but by feelings. But the media is not only powerful in news, it is powerful in entertainment. Movies, music, television, and advertising all serve as pipelines of culture. They shape what beauty looks like, what success feels like, what morality sounds like. They set standards of living that many chase without realizing they are fabricated. How many young men measure themselves against images of power from films? How many young women compare themselves to impossible models in magazines? How many families go into debt trying to live the lifestyle of characters they saw on television? The media has become the curriculum of culture. It educates the emotions, instructs the imagination, and trains the appetite. Now, let me show you why this matters more today than ever before. We live in an age of information overload. Never in history has humanity consumed so much data in such little time. Social media scrolls, breaking news alerts, viral videos, endless advertising. Every second is filled with noise. And in the middle of this noise, a truth is drowned. People no longer ask, is this accurate? They ask, is this trending? And what trends becomes what people trust. Even if it is a lie, here is the danger. What you consistently hear becomes what you unconsciously believe. That is why repetition is the media's most powerful tool. Tell a lie long enough, and it becomes accepted as truth. Repeat fear enough times, and people will live in anxiety even when the danger's gone. Repeat doubt enough times, and people will stop believing in themselves even when opportunities are available. The media understands this principle, and it uses it every day. So how should you respond? First, you must take responsibility for your own mind. Your mind is the most powerful territory you will ever possess. And the media is constantly trying to invade it. If you are careless, you will become a prisoner of narratives you never chose. Guard your intake. Question what you hear. Refuse to let headlines shape your convictions. Learn to think, not just react. Train yourself to separate fact from opinion, truth from spin, reality from manipulation. Second, you must learn to use the media rather than be used by it. Media itself is not evil. It is neutral, like fire. Fire can cook your food or burn down your house. The media can spread truth or spread lies, can inspire hope or spread fear. The tool is neutral. The use is powerful. That means you must decide how you will engage it. Will you use it to spread wisdom, to build others, to share your vision? Or will you allow it to dominate your thinking and dictate your values? Third, you must understand timing. The media has the ability to accelerate culture. What once took years to shift can now change in weeks because of a viral campaign. Ideas that were once fringe become mainstream overnight. And if you are not alert, you will wake up in a society you no longer recognize, shaped by media currents you never challenged. This is why discernment is essential. You cannot afford to sleep while the media reprograms the minds of a generation. But I want you to see hope in this, because the same media that spreads fear can spread faith. The same networks that amplify hate can amplify healing. The same tools used to manipulate can be used to liberate. The question is not whether the media is powerful. The question is who will harness that power. If you only consume, you are a victim. If you create, you become an influencer. And influence is leadership. Think of history. Revolutions were sparked not just by weapons, but by pamphlets, speeches, broadcasts. The civil rights movement gained strength not just from marches, but from media images that shocked the conscience of a nation. Oppressive regimes fall not only from armies, but from words and images that awaken the oppressed. The power of the media is the power to awaken, to mobilize, to inspire. Used wrongly, it enslave. Used rightly, It transforms. This is why you must treat the media as a tool of stewardship. What you share, what you post, what you repeat, all shapes someone else's mind. Your words may seem small, but once amplified, they can impact thousands. Do not be careless with your platform. Do not be reckless with your voice. Choose to use media to build, not to break, to enlighten, not to confuse, to spread truth, not rumor. Now let me address something critical. The media does not simply reflect culture. It creates it. It sets the trends that people follow. It normalizes behaviors once unthinkable. It glamorizes lifestyles once rejected. And if you do not recognize this, you will adopt standards without realizing it. You will measure yourself by images that were never meant to define you. This is why you must anchor your identity outside the media. If you let the media define your value, you will forever be unstable. Because its definition changes with every trend. Your worth cannot come from likes, followers, headlines, or advertisements. It must come from something deeper, something eternal. Otherwise, you will be tossed back and forth by every wave of culture. Wisdom demands that you consume media with discernment, but define yourself by truth. Truth does not trend, but truth remains. The media's power is undeniable. It can raise leaders or destroy them. It can unite nations or divide them. It can build faith or breed fear. It can liberate minds or enslave them. That is why the media is perhaps the greatest battlefield of our time. And those who win the battle of media will win the battle of minds. And those who win the battle of minds will shape the future. So I ask you, are you being shaped or are you shaping? Are you passively consuming or are you actively discerning? Are you letting media dictate your values or are you using media to spread truth? The answer to those questions will determine not only your personal freedom, but the destiny of your family, your community, and your nation. Because the media is not going away. Its influence will only grow. The question is not whether it will shape you, but how you will respond. Will you be passive or purposeful, enslaved or empowered? The choice is yours. Use media wisely, and it becomes your servant. Use it carelessly, and it becomes your master. And whoever masters the media masters the mind. That is the power of the media.